There are those who will try to prevent that future for Iraq, who will insist that Iraq's differences cannot be reconciled without more killing. They represent the forces that destroy nations and lead only to despair. And they will test our will in the months and years to come. America, too, has known these forces. We endured the pain of civil war, and bitter divisions of region and race. But hostility and hatred are no match for justice, they offer no pathway to peace. And they must not stand between the people of Iraq and a future of reconciliation and hope. So to the Iraqi people, let me be clear about America's intentions. The United States pursues no claim on your territory or your resources. We respect your sovereignty and the tremendous sacrifices you have made for your country. We seek a full transition to Iraqi responsibility for the security of your country. And going forward, we can build a lasting relationship founded upon mutual interests. And mutual respect as Iraq takes its rightful place in the community of nations. That leads me to the third part of our strategy: comprehensive American engagement across the region. The future of Iraq is inseparable from the future of the broader Middle East. So we must work with our friends and partners to establish a new framework that advances Iraq's security and the region's. It is time for Iraq to be a full partner in a regional dialogue. And for Iraq's neighbors to establish productive and normalized relations with Iraq. And going forward, the United States will pursue principled and sustained engagement. with all of the nations in the region, and that will include Iran and Syria. This reflects a fundamental truth: we can no longer deal with regional challenges in isolation. We need a smarter, more sustainable and comprehensive approach. That is why we are renewing our diplomacy, while relieving the burden on our military. That is why we are refocusing on Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan and Pakistan. Developing a strategy to use all elements of American power to prevent Iran from developing a nuclear weapon. And actively seeking a lasting peace between Israel and the Arab world. And that is why we have named 3 of America's most accomplished diplomats George Mitchell, Dennis Ross and Richard Holbrooke to support Secretary Clinton and me as we carry forward this agenda. Every nation and every group must know whether you wish America good or ill that the end of the war in. Iraq will enable a new era of American leadership and engagement in the Middle East. And that era has just begun. Finally, I want to be very clear that my strategy for ending the war in Iraq does not end with military plans or diplomatic agendas. It endures through our commitment to uphold our sacred trust with every man and woman who has served in Iraq. You make up a fraction of the American population, but in an age when so many people and institutions have acted irresponsibly, you did the opposite. You volunteered to bear the heaviest burden. And for you and for your families, the war does not end when you come home. It lives on in memories of your fellow soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines who gave their lives. It endures in the wound that is slow to heal, the disability that isn't going away. The dream that wakes you at night, or the stiffening in your spine when a car backfires down the street. You and your families have done your duty, now a grateful nation must do ours. That is why I am increasing the number of soldiers and Marines. So that we lessen the burden on those who are serving. And that is why I have committed to expanding our system of veterans health care to serve more patients. And to provide better care in more places. We will continue building new wounded warrior facilities across America. And invest in new ways of identifying and treating the signature wounds of this war. Post-traumatic stress disorder and traumatic brain injury, as well as other combat injuries. We also know that service does not end with the person wearing the uniform. In her visits with military families across the country, my wife Michelle has learned firsthand about the unique burden that your families endure every day. I want you to know this: military families are a top priority for Michelle and me. And they will be a top priority for my administration. We'll raise military pay, and continue providing quality child care, job training for spouses. And expanded counseling and outreach to families that have known the separation and stress of war. We will also heed the lesson of history that those who fight in battle can form the backbone of our middle class by implementing a 21st century GI Bill to help our veterans live their dreams. As a nation, we have had our share of debates about the war in Iraq. It has, at times, divided us as a people. To this very day, there are some Americans who want to stay in Iraq longer, and some who want to leave faster. But there should be no disagreement on what the men and women of our military have achieved. And so I want to be very clear. We sent our troops to Iraq to do away with Saddam Hussein's regime, and you got the job done. We kept our troops in Iraq to help establish a sovereign government, and you got the job done. And we will leave the Iraqi people with a hard-earned opportunity to live a better life. That is your achievement. That is the prospect that you have made possible. There are many lessons to be learned from what we've experienced. We have learned that America must go to war with clearly defined goals. Which is why I've ordered a review of our policy in Afghanistan. We have learned that we must always weigh the costs of action. And communicate those costs candidly to the American people, which is why I put Iraq and Afghanistan into my budget. We have learned that in the 21st century, we must use all elements of American power to achieve our objectives. Which is why I am committed to building our civilian national. Security capacity so that the burden is not continually pushed onto our military. We have learned that our political leaders must pursue the broad and bipartisan support that our national security policies depend upon. Which is why I will consult with Congress and in carrying out my plans. And we have learned the importance of working closely with friends and allies. Which is why we are launching a new era of engagement in the world. The starting point for our policies must always be the safety of the American people. I know that you, the men and women of the finest fighting force in the history of the world, can meet any challenge, and defeat any foe. And as long as I am your commander-in-chief, I promise you that I will only send you into harm's way when it is absolutely necessary. And provide you with the equipment and support you need to get the job done. That is the most important lesson of all, for the consequences of war are dire, the sacrifices immeasurable. You know, because you have seen those sacrifices. You have lived them. And we all honor them. Semper Fidelis, it means always being faithful to core. And to country, and to the memory of fallen. Comrades like Corporal Jonathan Yale and Lance Corporal Jordan Herder. These young men enlisted in a time of war, knowing they would face great danger. They came here, to Camp Lejeune, as they trained for their mission. And last April, they were standing guard in Anbar. In an age when suicide is a weapon, they were suddenly faced with an oncoming truck filled with explosives. These two Marines stood their ground. These two Marines opened fire. And these two Marines stopped that truck. When the thousands of pounds of explosives detonated, they had saved 50 Marines and Iraqi police who would have been in the truck's path. But Corporal Yale and Lance Corporal Herder lost their own lives. Jonathan was 21. Jordan was 19. In the town where Jordan Harder was from, a bridge was dedicated in his name. One Marine who traveled to the ceremony said, "We flew here from all over the country to pay tribute to our friend Jordan. Who risked his life to save us. We wouldn't be here without him." America's time in Iraq is filled with stories of men and women like this. Their names are written into bridges and town squares. They are etched into stones at Arlington, and in quiet places of rest across our land. They are spoken in schools and on city blocks. They live on in the memories of those who wear your uniform. In the hearts of those they loved, and in the freedom of the nation they served. Each American who has served in Iraq has their own story. Each of you has your own story. And that story is now a part of the history of the United States. Of America, a nation that exists only because free men and women have bled for it from the beaches of Normandy to the deserts of Anbar, from the mountains of Korea to the streets of Kandahar. You teach us that the price of freedom is great. Your sacrifice should challenge all of us, every single. American, to ask what we can do to be better citizens. There will be more danger in the months ahead. We will face new tests and unforeseen trials. But thanks to the sacrifices of those who have served, we have forged hard-earned progress. We are leaving Iraq to its people, and we have begun the work of ending this war.